Hey guys, welcome to Nerdarchy for Nerds by Nerds. I'm Ted, and today I'm hanging out with
Nerdarchy's Ryan.
Dave. Hey, the Nerdarch.
Who's calling the plots? Every story needs a villain. Jump down to the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So Jonathan Janes had asked us about picking the villain for one of his factions that happens to be evil. You know, does he go with a martial type character, like a general, or a spellcaster or a knowledge character?
Well, so the power behind the evil group essentially is trying to determine.
There's a couple different factors that are going to lead to making that kind of decision. Is number one, what is the goal of the organization? What is their way about achieving their means? Is it more intellectual based or is it more martial based? That's going to help lead to that kind of decision. But also you can look at it from a mechanical standpoint of what kind of adversary is going to be that much more challenging to your players when you actually do get to confrontation. If they have a challenge or a problem handling completely skilled martial characters that are that far out of their class, well, then maybe you want to go with that. But if making it a spellcaster is going to make for a more interesting encounter, then you might want to go that way.
The final conflict doesn't actually have to take place between the head of the organization and the players either.
That's true.
So, like, there's different ways of a faction or organization is going to gain power. Knowledge, strength of arm, martial, magic can kind of intertwine with the knowledge sector. There's also religious. There's political.
Yeah, political power, diplomacy. You could also have subterfuge, like playing people against each other, like a rogue might sort of dictate, or any sort of charismatic leader. Really.
I mean, look at Game of Thrones. Look at like all the maneuvering that goes on that doesn't actually involve any fighting. You get to a certain point where someone has acquired so many assets on the metaphorical field that you can't even think about challenging them.
Right.
So at that point, it doesn't really even matter how you or they exert their influence or power because you've been outmaneuvered before it can even happen, and that would be very much political. For the longest time, the High Sparrow did just that. Game of Thrones.
So ultimately, you're going to have to put the question out there of how do you want events to unravel in your game, and what is going to be the best story.
Yeah, I'd say for inspiration, you can check out the DMG. Has a really great section on villains and just creating them. And I mean, you can randomly roll for it, or you can read through the section and kind of get their motivations and what like the organization itself might have motivation, but the person at the top is going to have their own personal desires, and it might not just be I'm towing towing the party line for whatever my organization is about. They might have their own goals on top of that.
Or you could come to find out that like the king that seems to have taken an evil turn, there's now like actually a warlock or a sorcerer that's been manipulating him the whole time. So the power, as it would appear, is a martial character. Maybe the king is a great warrior, but the whole time the real power behind the throne has
just a cat's
been
paw.
Been the spellcaster,
The advisor.
Yeah, I mean the vizier is so it's very much done. But
yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is it could be anyone in that kind of position.
Or you could go make a left turn and it's a monster type, like an illithid, a beholder, any sort of a lich could be manipulated.
His brain's been replaced with an intellect devourer.
Yeah, all kinds of fun things.
There's some things you can go. I think the trap is always thinking about the big bad as the last encounter of your campaign or encounter in the future. So you're thinking mechanically about how to lay this out instead of what is going to make for an interesting story.
Right.
You know, he could be a politician.
He could be a golden-haired business magnate who...
Yeah. Well, it could also be that while he wields power over people, that once you are actually in his face, he doesn't have any physical amount of power, and once you've gotten to the moment of confrontation, you've already won. So it's getting to that point.
You know, if it's political, you're entrapping him or finding things out about him to undermine his political capital and power. Or if it's just a cult leader, you're looking at it as basically showing that he isn't as powerful or strong. It's kind of like if you defeat the cult leader, the cult followers either have to say, they're not the most powerful thing ever, and why was I following them? Which will, destroy the base of power for them. Yeah.
Or you have a few lone disciples go try to reform the cult off to the side.
Well, yeah, that usually happens too.
Yeah.
But like what I was saying is like getting to them, like they could be putting up these roadblocks or these obstacles in the player's path, and once they've gotten through all of them, the players are all hyped up for this grand encounter, and it's just a conversation, and it's like, all right, well, he's clearly not up to the challenge of facing them in combat.
I would love the idea of the major villain that manipulated the party so much that at the end of it, they look like the villains of the campaign or the campaign world.
They look like bullies picking on.
Well, yeah, I mean, all the things that he had them do, or like machinations to have them do these things, was actually greatly harmful to the world. And then he just goes monologues explaining it as he calmly eats his dinner.
Fantastic.
And he doesn't even care. He's just like, this is my art. Yeah, you go all Kevin Spacey on them as he's like has some Chianti.
I've done what I've done.
Yeah,
you can do nothing now. Or like you said, he's the cat's paw. Someone else is manipulating it, or perhaps he pays homage to a higher power. Depending on, if you're going with a more cult-like thing, they're trying to open a portal or whatever. So the problem isn't stopping him per se, but it's stopping the machinations that have already gone into place. Like no matter what the players do, stopping him doesn't actually stop the catalyst that he's already set in motion.
Right.
So then, maybe the thing is like they even have to keep him around, and they can't really harm him because there's things that they're unaware of that he knows, and they still have to get the information.
Or his final thing that he did, they have the encounter with him. He's describing what's happening right now. It's like this kingdom is being overthrown, or some other great harm is happening as they're encountering him right there. Like, yep, this is what's going on as you've been waiting through my troops or soldiers or whatever.
But at the same time, you kind of still have to give the players a way to win the day, to be the good guys, the heroes.
Sometimes it depends where they're going noir or if you're going like classical high fantasy. Yeah, I mean, downbeat works for noir pretty well.
If you wanted to go with that noir or the slightly Eberron-esque feel,
which is a fantasy noir setting.
The empty victory. So again, it just depends on the trope that you're going for and what you're playing with. It might not be for every game.
Yeah, no, you can't yank the football away every single time from Charlie Brown as he goes to kick it.
But what I'm saying is, even if you do that and you want to do that kind of ending, like that shouldn't be the ending. It should be the beginning of the next phase of the campaign,
right?
Mm-hmm. So that they do kind of get a chance to get the win in the end.
Yeah, like the level 10 confrontation, for lack of a better word, is with him, and then the next 10 levels are dealing with the fallout from the thing that he had.
It's halftime.
Yeah, it's a halftime.
It's a halftime show.
It's looking really bad at halftime.
Yeah. But they came back, they researched, they got their things together, there's tighter tackling, and sports.
Sports.
You guys can put who's in charge down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Go hang out with us at nerdarchy.com.
While you're there, check out the sweet swag at the store.
Or you can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.